guys were not. You were in. Actually, you were in our preseason.
I was in Portland as well.
I want to cover playoff hockey in Vancouver. I want the fans to enjoy and experience playoff hockey in Vancouver. I want the Canucks to win a Stanley Cup for this city. And looking at Raptors Twitter right now, a fade for Cade. I feel like a lot of them would love to see him there. I mean, I'm not advocating for that, but I mean, I know that's big on Raptors Twitter minds these days.
There's a lot of Twitter warriors out there.
LA gave one out to Jared Goff, and they've already moved on. Correct. They didn't think that could work for them.
It's all good. It's in it. It's in the box.
It's in the box.
Perfect.
For the Unnamed Sports Show, here's your host, Joshua Griffith.
Hello, and as you just heard and saw, this is the Unnamed Sports Show on the Sports Talk Line Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. I am, of course, your host, Joshua Griffith, on this 1-year anniversary episode. That's right, 1 year. 1 year. I should only hold up one finger. Before we get into things, and all my great guests today, I'm going to take care of all the housekeeping. So make sure that you like the video, comment along down at the bottom. Let me know what you think, your thoughts of the Canucks season. And then when we get into it, the Vancouver Whitecaps season, make sure you subscribe to the Sports Talk Line YouTube channel if you don't already, and follow me on Twitter at Joshua Griffith0. So now that we have that out of the way, like I said, it's my 1-year anniversary show. It's technically been just over a year, but I'm going to count it as that anyway, as everyone knows, had some stuff I had to deal with personally last week. Technically number 51 as well, so not 52, but hey, we're really not splitting hairs here. Still can't believe some of the great guests that I've had the privilege of having on my show, from some of the best, in the business, in the NHL, in hockey, from Rick Dollywall, Ken Reed, Satyar Shah, Big Nazar, Rob Fay, Jeff Patterson, so many more I can't even name. Whitecaps players, coaches from the front office, as I'm going to have later today. Canucks prospects, Yanni Yormo was kind enough to join me. My favorite MLS players, everybody knows, Felipe, and the list just goes on and on. So over 50 great guests, and some of them have come back for a second time, which means that they must really enjoy the show, and I hope that everybody out there does as well. So I don't really need to break down all my past shows. Actually, I guess, today I have an hour, so maybe I will break down a couple more. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. We're not going to. I have a ton of stuff planned for today's show. I have 3 really great guests. The first one is from the Sekeres and Price show. Matt Sekeres came on to chat some Vancouver Canucks, what's happening with their direction now that the season's over. We had the players that they chatted today to media, or some of them did anyway. And if news is coming down on Twitter, but I mean, we'll wait for everything to get confirmed. It looks like the Canucks might have locked up Travis Green to a contract extension beyond this year. So that would be nice to hear. And looks like they're just working things out with the rest of his coaching staff. So after that, I'm going to be joined by the Whitecaps CEO and sporting director, Axel Schuster. It'll be his second time joining me. He joined me in the off season. So we had a lot of fun chatting. Of course, we had to record a little bit earlier, both of these interviews. You guys are really busy. Actually, now Matt is on his show right now. So apologies to that. But hey, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, even if you have him on your show. But so I'm going to be talking to Axel about the Whitecaps season. What do you like so far after just 6 games? It's early, and of course have to ask about that search for the number 10, the elusive number 10. But I don't even think we should call him the number 10 after this. I've been admonished by Mark DeSantos in media before, and for good reason apparently. But looks like I'll have Axel to ask questions to if I have any more doubts or any clarification. So also got some clarification on Ali Adnan and his visa status. So we'll get into that a little bit later. And then to finish the show, I'm really excited to have on one of the guys who's been instrumental in my career at Sports Talkline, is one of my big bosses, Stephen VanOver. So he just released a ton of stuff on the Sports Talkline website about the NFL draft. It's getting there. It's getting to that NFL time again. So we're going to chat some NFL, and then we're going to look at the newly revamped Sports Talkline website as well, and check that out, because that's really cool. So I hope that everybody can sign up on that. It's basically Twitter, but it's moderated and it's just sports. So I don't know if that's something that people would enjoy. I hope you do. You can sign up. We'll take a look at that at the end. So like I said, first off, was joined by Matthew Sekeres early on in the day. And we chat about the Canucks, and a little bit more about the Canucks, what he liked in the season. Actually, we start on positive, so everyone should love that. And then we look at some of the things maybe we didn't like, and look ahead to the future, what it might hold for the Canucks and the offseason and front office. So without further ado, if my wonderful producer, who I will give a big shout out at the end, actually. So Lee, if we can cue up my first interview with Matthew Sekeres. All right, so I'm thrilled to be joined by somebody all Canucks fans will know, one half of the Sekeres and Price show, Matthew Sekeres. Matt, thank you so much for joining me here on my 1-year anniversary show. How are you doing?
Well, happy anniversary, Josh. Happy to catch up with you this way. Of course, you and I spent some time together in La Jolla, California a year ago in January. One of the last outings that we did on Sekeres and Price at 1040 down at Whitecaps training camp, and that was great fun. Great weather too, buddy, as I recall. Yeah. And just off the hop, because I've seen you tweeting about it, I just want to wish my best to your dad. I understand he's getting better, and that's fantastic news. So best to dad and the whole family over there on the island.
Thank you so much, dear Matt. Yeah, it was a well-timed work vacation as things shut down right after. So people,
that's right.
I had the whole year to gloat it over people. Oh, I went to San Diego for a week this year. What?
Yeah.
How?
Well, we got to thank you, buddy, because we sat there Monday through Friday, doing shows from the pool deck at the Hyatt in La Jolla. And most people are looking at us like, who are these guys? And why are they talking so much about ice hockey? And you were the one sort of live and interested person all week, listening into us from the pool deck there. So thanks for that, my man.
It was really cool to be able to catch the training and then come down and see how kind of some of the behind the scenes stuff was, and to catch the show live. That's always been one of my goals to catch you guys on location before, but now I'll have to stand outside the blanket fort or the window view apparently.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're hoping to get to a place here. Our plans are afoot. I'm not allowed to say everything, but we have plans afoot here so that people are going to be able to watch us do the new show in time. Give us till later in the year on that, Josh, but at some point we will have an announcement where people are going to be able to take in Sekeres and Price live and in person.
Oh, I think I won't be the only person that really enjoys that. So I've been enjoying the shows the weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. So Canucks season's over. Mm-hmm. I don't really think I have a lot of positive adjectives to describe it, but what were your initial thoughts as things wrapped up yesterday?
Well, since you used positive, let's start there. And like you said, short list, but at least there is a list. For me, the best development for the club hockey-wise this year is that Thatcher Demko turned into a true number one goaltender. I have now zero qualms about handing him the bulk load of starts next year. And as we do know, goalies tend to be better when they're rested. So still means you're going to need a quality backup of some sort. But if you were to tell me that Thatcher's going to play 55 to 62 games next year, something like that, very, very comfortable with that. Now, I know some people were last year coming out of the bubble. I took the view 3 great games against Vegas does not a number one goaltender make, but he has been every bit of that this year. And really, the only times when he has struggled this year was the beginning of the year when the entirety of the team was terrible, and right coming out of the COVID bubble when he, acknowledged that he had a tougher time with COVID and was playing through some brain fog and some symptoms. So outside of that, he had a massive season for them, kept them in a bunch of games, and may allow them to play that sort of style that we saw last year where, Jacob Markstrom, stand on your head, and we're going to score enough goals because we have some good young offensive talent. So, great development for them there. Nils Höglander has to be on the list, right? You're talking about a rookie second round pick, 20 years old, steps in the lineup and holds down and plays top six, middle 6 minutes. A strong close to the season too for Höglander, which you gotta like, because they don't play the longest seasons over there in European hockey, even European junior hockey. So you gotta love the fact that game 53, 54 of an NHL season, and there he was contributing and one of their best players.
And that's coming off his time too in Sweden right before it.
Yeah, and then I personally loved what we saw from Jack Rathbone late in the year. Not a big sample size. So, much like with Demko in Vegas, I don't want to draw too many conclusions, but Josh, based on the state of their defense core, you can't tell me that as it sits right now, that Jack Rathbone wouldn't be one of their best 4 defensemen next year out of the gate, out of training camp. I know that's a lot. No. Preferably you wouldn't put that on him this soon, but given their cap situation, I'm not sure they're going to have any choice, buddy. So I would suspect that we're going to see Jack Rathbone in a pretty prominent role right out of the gate next year.
He was exciting to watch, kind of shades, obviously not to that level of Quinn Hughes when we got his, his short, brief time that 1 year. But something that, I don't know, maybe that gives me a little bit of hope with Jack Rathbone being able to step into a top 4 role is just his closeness with Quinn Hughes. And so maybe he's able to get some of those lessons and some of those things passed down. Like, okay, this is what the grind's like. This is what we're kind of going to expect. Last season was kind of an outlier year for how the NHL does things. So that might help him. But it sounds right now, Jack Rathbone would move into the Canucks top 4.
Yeah, and I mean, you wish one of them was a right-hand shot, although I do wonder whether you'd play those 2 defensemen on a pair, given how similar they are in profile. But I think you're right. It seems like just 2 years into his Canucks career, and with the nickname Huggy, that Quinn Hughes might already be a mentor to young Canucks defensemen here coming up.
So we have lots of things as we move into the offseason. Elliot Friedman dropping things about Jim Benning. I'm sure we'll hear about that this week. Mentions of the Sedins coming into the organization in some capacity. We're still waiting on the coaching staff, having expiring contracts. We have the expansion draft, et cetera, et cetera. What storylines are you most closely watching as the team moves into the offseason?
Josh, there's so many here.
I know. That's why I realized that I was going to end up having to list off 40 or 50 things if I didn't just go et cetera, et cetera. So
well, I'll tell you this, in the near term here, I'm interested about Travis Green. Like, as we sit here and record today and tomorrow and going in a long weekend, I'm interested in Travis Green. I'm interested if now there's a deal that can be done now that we're done with the business of games and practices. I'm wondering if there is a final offer coming from Canucks Sports Entertainment and some final considerations from Travis Green in terms of what's important to him. I do believe him. I do believe that he continues to want to coach here. This is his home province team. It was his first NHL head coaching job. And look, the one thing about this market in particular, if you win here, they will build statues of you, right? Like, you'll never pay for a drink in British Columbia again. It is the most thirsty Stanley Cup market when you consider how big a Canadian market it is, how long it's been in the National Hockey League, and how it's had relatively little success. So, when I talk to people around the NHL and they size up the Canucks situation, they go, yeah, well, ownership is extremely high maintenance. The fans are demanding. The tax rate is high for players and coaches. But if you win there, it would be unlike winning anywhere else, or at least with very few comparables. So, they're all competitors and they all think they can win. So I'd be delighted to see Travis Green back. He remains quite popular with the fans. And that's one calculation I think Canucks Sports Entertainment, Jim Benn, Francesco Aquilini need to understand, that if Francesco is going to still be the chairman and Jim's still going to be the general manager, even if you beef up with the Twins in some sort of advisor role in the front office, the fan base still views Travis Green as more popular than the two of you in terms of existing employees. And so if you want to continue on in your current roles, maybe it's you're best served from a PR, optics, and fan relations point of view to bring back this head coach who remains quite popular with the fans, and by the sounds of it, pretty popular with the players as well.
Yes, the players had their media availability, and I know you said you were just catching up on that, but one of the main things stressed by pretty much every player was their desire to have Travis Green come back as a coach, and the coaching, and just like glaring admonishment just telling how happy they were with the coaching staff and how they brought them along using like nurturing role, things like that. So, really curious if the ownership and the management group was going to be that.
Yeah,
I guess.
So one thing to understand, Josh, is no player is going to do an exit interview and sue or anybody, right? Like that is quite rare. If it happens, then it's really bad, and particularly widespread. But I think it goes beyond Travis Green. I think it's the totality of his coaching staff. We heard Thatcher Demko's plea about Ian Clark and how much he credits Ian Clark, the goaltending coach, with helping him out and helping him develop his game. And again, for me, that's the biggest development to this season for the Vancouver Canucks. We heard what Quinn Hughes had to say about Nolan Baumgartner, coaches the defenseman, and Travis can be a hard guy from time to time, right? And Baumgartner is sort of his antithesis. Baumgartner is the good cop to his bad cops, so to speak. I'm not sure Nolan Baumgartner could be bad cop. Like he is that sort of upbeat and enthusiastic and happy and genuine a guy. People love him. And so I wasn't surprised for a second to hear Quinn Hughes come on out and speak to him in those terms. And, that's, a coaching staff needs chemistry too. And I think they have it with, Travis, who can be serious and stern and all that, and Baumgartner, who can be lighthearted and fun and uplifting, and then the sort of the technical expertise of Ian Clark and his proven track record of success in coaching goalies and getting them to adopt a style and a form that is most efficient. I mean, there's a lot of things to like about this coaching staff. So that's the one that I'm sort of monitoring the most here over the next 24, 36 hours.
Yes, and apparently, according to John Shannon, who was on Donnie and Dolly earlier today, we should hear something in 36 hours is what he was hearing from after last game. So I'll be checking my phone constantly for that one in the next little bit.
Yep.
I'm joined by Matt Sekeres here on the Unnamed Sports Show. Matt, I'm going to have CEO of the Vancouver Whitecaps, Axel Schuster, on my show. I know you're a big Whitecaps fan, bigger than them. We obviously talked about that at the beginning, you guys being down there to cover the training camp. What have you made of the Whitecaps' early start to the season?
Well, I thought it was fantastic at 2-1-1, and really with a loss there that easily could have been a win, right? So I thought they were amazing through 4 games. I loved the work rate, Josh. Like they were working their tails off in the early going. And frankly, the work rate's been pretty good all year. You can see that they're better talented, more talented, I should say, from previous years. Like, let's face it, buddy, DeSantos hasn't had much of a chance in these 2 years with the talent available to him and the talent. He bears some responsibility too. He's in on some of the talent procurement with Axel Schuster and with the Whitecaps front office. So I love them through 4 games, and they've come back down earth a little bit now, haven't they? Yeah. I mean, Kansas City took them to the woodshed. There's no polite way to put it. They were second best by a mile. They were second best, from the opening minutes of the match. Now, look, Kansas City has typically been a very good MLS franchise. They got a fantastic crowd in operation, and maybe that's just too much and too overwhelming for the Whitecaps right now. But I'm interested to see how they do this weekend in Houston, if I'm not mistaken, Saturday, to see if they can get back to that level. I'm loving the chemistry that we're seeing up front, not just between the holdovers, Cavallini and Dahomey, and I think both of them look better this year than from what we saw last year. And I think in Dahomey's case, a lot of it just has to do with the fact, his family's here, he's settled and all that. I mean, there was a awful runaround for the Dahomey family last year during COVID. And of course, Lucas lost a grandparent and, lost a couple family members to COVID last year. So you can only, think that those two guys are in a much better mental state playing this year. But also Diber, so I love that triangle that they got going on there up front and some of the chemistry that's emerging. And then, you help me, Josh, you're a close Whitecaps watcher. What's with all the set piece execution? Seemed like for 10 years of the franchise, we were saying, hey, when is this team ever going to score off set pieces? All right, it's probably not fair. In the early going, Camilo, Hasley, there were set piece goals, but for years their set pieces were an absolute calamity. And, now is whether it's Gutierrez with the corners, or free kicks in dangerous areas. They do a heck of a job on the set pieces. And we had Mark on the show last week, couple weeks ago, last week. And, one of the things I said, Coach, well, all the set pieces working magically. He said, it became an obsession for me. It became an obsession for me and for our team to get rid of this reputation of being so poor on set pieces. So that's been nice to see as well. In the grand picture of the Whitecaps and their rebuild and how they get to a point where they're competitive in this league, particularly if they're not going to be the ones out there spending the huge bread on all these big international DPs, then we have seen some baby steps in that regard. I'm not sure we've seen strides, but there's a whole lot of season left here for them.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see on the set pieces, and you can tell that Mark's very happy about that one. It's one he mentions it all the time, and he's like, sorry.
I was just going to say, and the other thing that we should note, right? Until Saturday, and Godoy came back and was part of that mess in Kansas City, but he's one of their better players.
Yeah. And
he didn't play in the early going. And needless to say, Ali Adnan is one of their more dynamic players. And I know he's not coming back anytime soon. So, to be 2-1-1 through 4, even 2-2-1 through 5 prior to the Kansas City game, without those two guys on the back line, I think that's reasonably well done by Whitecaps FC. So, a small tip of the cap to them. I've really liked Alexandre. I particularly like the stylish way he pronounces his name. We've had fun with Blake Price on that one, because think about it, Josh, in Canada, 2 official languages. That could be Alexander, that could be Alexandre, Alexandre. I mean, wow, that's a $10 pronunciation, but he's been a good player. He's given them some stuff in this opening 6 matches. So I'm looking forward to watching the Caps here go forward. And of course I have a personal interest in some of the play-by-play these days, given who's doing it. So that's a whole lot of fun too.
No, it's been nice to listen to Blake doing that too, and he got into his groove really nicely last game, I thought, with Dolly there. So that's
and I gotta say, tough spot for Blake to go in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Peter for me is just legendary.
Yeah, a legend.
As a soccer play-by-play man, cares so deeply about the sport and the club and the fans here in British Columbia. So I was extraordinarily disappointed to hear about that. And, frankly, a little bit worried in terms of the way that Blake would be received from all the supporters. But they have been fabulous. I must say, we get a lot of feedback from them, and a huge thank you to all those footy fans, Cap supporters, who have been so kind to Blake here during this transition and as he embarks on soccer play-by-play.
Look forward to hearing him on Saturday with the call for Houston. And I look forward to hearing him today at 3:00 when this show actually ends. It's almost like I timed that perfectly. What's on the show for you guys today, Matt?
Well, we're certainly going to be unpacking these Canucks player exit interviews. We will be joined by Thomas Drance and Jeff Patterson today. So we're going to have a full-on postmortem of this Canucks season. We'll be monitoring. Yeah, we'll be monitoring the our sources and the news channels to see if anything breaks on the Canucks, and we'll have some irons in the fire as well. It's Thursday, so that's the day that Blake and I go on a full-on heated debate, Take Five Thursday. So looking forward to that. And thank you to everybody who has come over seamlessly here to the new Sekeres and Price show at sekeresandprice.com and helped us out. Hey, we've gotten all sorts of different advice and suggestions, and people being patient with us as we've helped them with technological issues. People being willing to share us, follow us, rate us, share us, and then promote us through their social channels. So it's been amazing community support from listeners and businesses alike, and we're just so delighted that we were able to continue on doing our show and speaking to the BC sports community so seamlessly after 1040.
And Vancouver and BC sports fans alike, we're happy for it because we need lots of voices in this market. And Matt Sekeres and Blake Price are two of those voices that we need. I mean, you can throw Wadden in there too, but don't tell him.
Oh, he's right here. He's listening to you. So we better, Josh. Yeah.
Damn. Okay, Wadden, you get that. Don't worry. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining me today, chatting some Canucks and chatting a bit of Whitecaps.
Thanks, Josh. I'll be back anytime you ask, buddy.
Love it. Thanks. Have a great day. So make sure to tune in them weekdays from 3 to 6 on their platform there. And so that was great getting caught up about the Vancouver Canucks and lots of mystery still unfolding with the team, and then ending with the Whitecaps, which is fitting because that's where we are going to move next. Whitecaps had a great start to their season, starting off 2-1-1, but 2 straight losses with a pretty convincing 3-0 loss to Sporting Kansas City. Kind of looking a little bit gloomy again, but this year for Whitecaps fans, there's a lot of upside. There's a lot of spark. Christian Dahome, Lucas Cavallini, David Casaido have looked pretty good together. Kyle Alexandre and Jano Bikel are showing some bright spots in the midfield. Obviously, there is the need for that playmaking mid, which we all know we've needed it for years. Don't know if we'll call it the number 10, but I was joined by my next guest, Vancouver Whitecaps CEO and sporting director, Axel Schuster. And he was kind enough to join me for about 15, 16 minutes to chat about the direction of the Whitecaps to start the season. And like I said, that search for the elusive 10 and more. We had a little bit of fun. It was always great to catch up with Axel Schuster. So we're going to bring you this one next. Whitecaps fans, I know you're going to enjoy this. And this will be my chat with Vancouver Whitecaps CEO, Axel Schuster.
You have to confirm something here, Nate.
Yeah. Nate?
Yeah, no.
Oh, we're good? We're good? Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So I am so very happy to welcome back to the show Vancouver Whitecaps CEO and sporting director, Axel Schuster. Axel, how are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing well. We just got the second shot of vaccine. Had some side effects after it, but today I'm fine again.
Good. Yeah, Andy Rose was talking about that. He said it was pretty excited, and it's awesome to see that the team's getting their shots. So I want to talk about Utah a little bit later and being down there. But first, I kind of just want to get your thoughts on the first 6 games of the season. 8th in the West, 2-1-3 record. What do you like?
Yeah, I overall liked the way the team tries to defend to protect its own goal, and I maybe have to take out of this consideration the game against Kansas. But I thought that we made some progress there. We were looking at that already at the end of the last season. As I always say, I held my team accountable for the way how they work against the ball, how they work together, how they fight for not conceding goals. We all have to have this desire because that's the foundation of a successful team always. And we have to do that with a lot of workload and physicality. And I think if I look at the first games, we have done well there. We were beating every team on the physical side beside of Toronto, what was a very special game played in Florida in the heat after a long trip. So, and we were even there close. But every other game we were winning on the physical side. I think we worked very hard together to not concede goals. As I said, maybe we should better take out the Kansas game there. And we got some results. I would also say that the Minnesota game definitely was not the right result at the end, because I think we deserved at least a point there. We had wonderful chances throughout the whole game, and we had to score the first goal, and brought us then in this difficult start that at the end, as the opponent scored, we were running out of time to correct the result. And then we had the Kansas game, yes, and the Kansas game I will still want to wait until we have played the Houston game, because I think every team in this league and every team in the world has these days where you have to go somewhere where you play a strong opponent. Kansas was winning our conference last year. It's a very good team, a team that is also physically very strong. I have to give credit to Peter Vernies. All his teams always look physical, strong, also work hard. And then a game, if you are not in your best performance, then a game can look like this game looked at the beginning, and you got hidden from a bus, and at the moment you are waking up, you are not any longer in a position where you really can fight for a result, and you try to get out the best possible and to get out of the situation in this game, and it hasn't worked out that day. If that happens a few times a year, I would say that's normal. That happens also to the best teams in the world. But it is very important how our answer, how our reaction to that will look like in the next game. And for that reason, I don't want to go over that game too much right now, because I'm waiting for our result in 2 days in Houston first. And not only the result, also about our performance. It's a lot about performance, because in this assumption, for example, our game in Minnesota, I thought was a very good game. Yeah. And the result was not the right one. But if we speak about development and building here something successful, it's also about having the right performance. Because if you play constantly on the level of the level we had against Minnesota, if we constantly can bring that performance, we will win games. That's no doubt. So then it's the one result. So, and said that, we had a hard preseason. We had a lot of challenges. We still have a lot of challenges. We play only with one DP. I always have to remind people that our second DP, a player we invest a lot of money in, a player that had a lot of impact to our last season, a player that can make the difference in a certain moment in the game, that maybe can help you to score this one goal that is important to get a result, is not here. And it's not our fault. It's not our fault. It's a story that probably also fits to the whole chapter of challenges with COVID. And if we put all of that together and we get a result on Saturday, or we play an amazing game on Saturday, I think we handled the first 7 games very well.
No, I agree. And, you mentioned on Ali, and then people were trying to go there like, you have to ask him about Ali. And I'm like, I know what's going on with Ali. He's got a US visa issue. I'm not wasting my valuable time with Axel talking about it. But yes, you've mentioned it. The team, I would imagine, is working as hard as possible behind the scenes with all your lawyers to try and get everything done, right?
I can only say the following. I want to be very careful because I totally respect every single state in the world and their rules and the way how they do things. The only thing I can tell everyone, we have provided the officials with the same papers as we have done in the first time, because it's not the first visa he is asking for. It's still the same person. It's still on the same contract. And the only answer we get that the things are a little bit more complicated because of COVID, because of also a new administration, and that things cannot be solved in a faster way than we are doing here, because there is no possibility to push for something. So we have to accept it. Do we like it? No, but we have to accept it. I'm good in accepting things I cannot change, but I think it's also our right to say we are missing an important piece in our squad, and if we defend in the way we do and we keep games always close, it can be one small thing that can help us to get a result or not, and he is proven as a difference maker in this moment of a game.
Yeah, he is a game changer. He's a game-changing player. We've seen it last year. He can take the ball on his foot. He can dribble past 3 or 4 defenders, and he can strike right into the top corner of the net. So, no, I hear that, Axel. And, something that you mentioned, the wonderful chances, building on success. And I know something that we talked about in the offseason was having an exciting product on the field for fans. And I think we're really getting that this year. I mean, the guys are still getting it when they're trying to get that final third and hitting those, that maybe that nice ball at the end there, but we're really seeing some exciting football being played out from the Whitecaps this year.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. And yes, we right now also believe that we are working into the right direction. So that's an important thing. I was speaking at the end of the last season about the disappointment not to make the playoffs, and we didn't ask for any excuse, or we didn't brought up any excuse, but we said that we believe that at the end of the season, in the last 7 games, we showed flashes how this team can be successful in future. And we were continuing to work on that. And I think with the signings we have done with players like Caio or Diber, even Bruno in the one game in Minnesota, we saw that we have added quality and needs this team had to grow. So are we done yet? No. Have we ever said that we will be done this season? No. Do we think we can still improve things this season? Yes, absolutely. Is it necessary to rush things? I don't think so. We should do and continue the things in the same way we have done in the past, and only to do something if we are 100% convinced. And I think that the signings right now prove a little bit that we do quite a good work in the background before we sign a player. And if we can add the same next quality players than we have done in the past, I think everybody sees where that can go.
Absolutely, and I would agree with that. How much has additions in the front office like Nico and Martin been to just helping you and Mark just with the overall football operation side of things?
I think the most important thing is with all this addition to get, first of all, to give everyone the time that he needs to do the job he is supposed to do. Mark should be focused on the actual team, on the next game, on analyzing the last game, and he should do that in 95% of his working time. And for that reason, it's important that all the additions we made and all the guys that were working around the team have the quality to do the work that also has to be done on a footballing side in a team. And with adding Nikos, we have, and the whole team, we have now the quality in the scouting department where everybody fully trusts that they exactly know what we need, how a player exactly has to look like. And if they send us a name and say, Guy, this is the player you have to look at, we know that this is a really serious and possible new player for us. And we don't look at a lot of players where we think after 20 minutes, why am I wasting my time? Why I have looked 20 minutes at that player? Because he will not help us. So I really have to say the signings of Diber, the signing for Diber, for example, he was on no list. He never got offered to us. He was never brought up from an agent, from a club, from an intermediary or whatever. It was a player they scouted, they brought up, and we said, oh yes, that's the player we're looking for. And we have a few others. And of course, then the point is, if we have them on our list at the end, we sometimes still, or the first time really try or start to find out, is the player open to come? And then you sometimes have a surprise. A player says, no, MLS never. Or player says, yeah, if you pay me 20 million a year, I would come. Or a player tells you, where are you? And we say, in Salt Lake. We are not in Vancouver yet. And he said, but I want to move with my family then in 2 weeks and come to you. And it is not in Vancouver. No, my wife feels not comfortable to move first to Salt Lake and Vancouver. You have to deal with all those things. And it's more than only to identify a player. It's also then to convince him and all of that. So we are working through all of that. But the first and foremost and most important thing for us is always that the whole scouting team, and it's not only Nikos, that they bring us a report and say, this player is checked. Personality, the physicality, is he physically strong enough? Quality, technically, tactically, mindset, everything is proven, and he would be a new addition to our club that would help us to become better.
Okay, so I'm joined by Axel Schuster here on the Unnamed Sports Show. I've been banished from asking Mark about a number 10. I know you guys are always searching. We got the transfer window kind of winding down to a close. Do we have any updates for fans on that front, Axel?
You're banned from
Yeah, oh yeah, he's banned me. Yeah, he said don't call it a number 10 or just don't ask me the question. So right.
Okay, I will help you. First of all, I totally get it, because it links up to that what I said before. Mark should be focused to work on the actual squad he has here on the next game. And as long as we have not signed a player, he has not to waste energy into that player, or to waste energy into around that theme, because there is a game in 2 days that he has to manage, where he has to prepare his team, and a player that is not here doesn't really help for that game. The other thing is, and it's not a change in our search. Maybe we did a mistake because we said it at the beginning, always in that way in the beginning. We are not looking exclusively for number 10. We are looking for the link player between our midfield and our attack. It can be also a false 9. It can be also very offensive orientated number 8. I think to limit ourselves only to this one position, it has to be this one attacking midfielder, typical number 10, would also not be helpful. And with my understanding of the classical number 10, he would not fit to my initial needs and request that everybody works very hard against the ball if we are out of possession. Because the way I look at traditional old number 10s, they are only active if you are in possession. Now, so we are looking for this link up player, and our profile is wider than only a number 10. But if we look at our games now, and if we look at a game like Minnesota, then I would say everybody knows and understands and sees what we need. We need this player that helps us to create a chance more, or to finish a chance, to have that one finish, to pass one more key pass, so that cover or whoever is free in front of the goal and scores. So it's obvious that that is our biggest need now, to grow and to make the next step. And the player should have that quality. whatever his position is, doesn't matter. He should only have that quality.
Well, I like that you mentioned fit too, because it looks like you guys have a really tight knit squad. Whenever you ask about things to the players, it's always really positive, even after a loss. You know, they're looking for bright spots. So that's good that you want to get a fit. So Axel, thank you so much for joining me here today. Hope you have safe travels to Houston, and best of luck on the weekend. And we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. And if you get the band the next time, feel free to reach out to me.
Okay.
I will answer you the questions you are asking.
That's why I have you on, Axel. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
All right. So that was Axel Schuster, Vancouver Whitecaps CEO and sporting director. No real new news on the 10 front, but that wasn't a surprise to me, and I don't think it would be a surprise to anyone involved. Like we talked about, the Whitecaps get back underway on Saturday against the Houston Dynamo, and then they have a little bit of a long layoff. Andy Rose and Janio Bikel were at media today, and Andy Rose kind of spoke about I think about 26 days. Looks like he's going to stay in Utah, but that doesn't really surprise me because they have things pretty set up for the team and the facilities in Utah during the break. Obviously, Ali Adnan will be heading off to the Iraq national team to play in some games, and yet to be seen if Yasser Khmiri will join the Tunisian team, but I kind of would expect that. I've been hearing some things. So I'm going to switch gears. We've been talking some football, and that's world football. We're going to talk some North American football coming here now, because even though it's only May 20th, NFL and teams are starting to get back to camps. We've had the NFL draft. Teams are evaluating their picks. Free agent picks are starting to go in. Everything is starting to get settled in. And we have here at the Sports Talkline Network one of the best senior NFL analysts ever. He just came up with a ton of draft reviews, articles, just basically talking about teams' players. He did one on the Los Angeles Rams receiving core. I'm so happy to welcome him in now. One of my big boss mates and my mentor, so helping me get into the Sports Talkline Network and doing so much of these great things. So Stephen VanOver, thank you so much for joining me here on my 1-year anniversary show.
It's a pleasure, sir. A pleasure and an honor. It's been a great year. It's been fantastic watching these shows, and your guest. Oh my goodness, you're really starting to just bring the awesome guest in on a regular basis. And you seem to have a rapport with what's going on. Just a fun show to watch. Thanks for having me on.
Well, you know, the kind words, and it's been an absolute blast. And I have been so thankful for the Sports Talkline Network to give me this platform here. Like I said, started just over a year ago when the pandemic hit. Nothing really going on. And hey, you know what? Let's talk some sports and get maybe people out of their funk or out of what was going on. And it just kind of blossomed. And I've really enjoyed having it and doing it. So I'm glad that you could join me for this 1 year mark. And of course, I wanted to talk some NFL because
the North American Football League, right?
The North American Football League. Well, hey, you know what? If CFL gets back underway this summer, fingers crossed, I'll be talking about that. But for now, teams are already back in training camps. I am seeing the Rams back in training camps. The optional stuff is going on. It's May, but the NFL season with the other sports starting to wind down, it's kind of getting in full swing.
You know, the rest of the sports leagues in the world have paid attention to how the NFL has managed to spin itself into a 365-day a year news cycle. They always have something going. It's amazing. And as you said right now, 32 NFL teams, their rookies have all come in for the rookie mini camps. They've all over, and some of them had some interesting rules going on and things like that, because it's still COVID, man, and people are still shy about what's going on. And then also this season is so unlike, because in COVID-19 off season, they didn't have an off season. They just said, all right, show up. We'll take a couple weeks and we'll start playing some games. And it worked out pretty good.
It did.
It really did. And the injuries were down. There was a bunch of soft tissue injuries, but the ACL injuries, and all that kind of stuff, that knocks a player out for forever, or, ends their career maybe. Those were really down. The players liked it. It really helped them do things differently, enjoy their year. It's tough to be under the thumb 12 months out of the year to keep your body in peak shape. It's actually not possible. You have to pick your spots. So it's a thing. Players that were fighting for a job, they would pick their peak physical condition to be training camp because that's where they had to beat off the competition. Whereas veterans would wait and make their peak physical condition come the playoffs. And so it really takes that type of team to have this type of effect. And all of that's been juggled now and out the window, and you're watching what's going on. Some teams are having virtual training camps still, and other teams like the Chargers are saying, okay, we're going to jog through all of our training camp. Anytime there's 11 on 11, we're jogging. So they're realizing that there's a movement here to do this. But then on the flip side, if you get hurt while you're practicing, while you're working out away from the team, they can cut you. That's a non-football injury. We've had 2 guys lose close to $20 million over that just the last week. It's a mess out there. But let's talk about some fun stuff. Let's talk about some QB ping pong, all right, that's been going on. I know you've been watching this. Washington couldn't land a QB in free agency and the draft. They just couldn't do it. But then the Rams, they traded for a franchise QB. And maybe are this season's Tom Brady team. And then the Texans, they may have lost, them and the NFL may have lost one of the best QBs in the NFL with what's going on with Deshaun Watson and the allegations out there in the Me Too era. It's going to be very interesting to see how this shakes out and what kind of a stance the NFL takes. Favorite teams, top 5 teams of the offseason. And what I mean by this is the teams that I think did the most for themselves in the offseason. Not this is going to be who wins the Super Bowl. This is the team that did the most for themselves. Number 1 in the offseason, I don't know if you're going to agree with this or not, the LA Rams. I think they did they give away draft picks. They do this, they do that. They hand out these big contracts. But you look at how their team stacks up, you go, damn, this looks good. They're going to have a Sean McVay offense again. That's going to be able to attack deep. They got a long ball quarterback. They got some long ball receivers. This is pretty exciting. And then, they got if you got Aaron Donald on defense, what do you really need? Okay. But
you're always in it with Aaron Donald.
There you go.
Van, I can tell you're fired up. You're on a roll. I don't even have to ask questions here, which is nicely. I wish all my guests would just come on and set their own questions. But I know you've been fired up. You've been fired up for a couple of weeks now because we were supposed to do it last week. So, okay, LA Rams. I'm not going to disagree with that. Now, that was your number 1. Number 2, let's hear it.
All right, number 2, and let's see if you agree with this, is the team that had the worst offensive line in the NFL last season, the LA Chargers. So both teams from LA. I'm picking 1, 2. The Chargers helped themselves the most. Their offensive line now, it's a top 15 offensive line. They went from there to, and as their rookie left tackle gets better, this line should get better. So, I mean, they really helped themselves. And when you take a QB, Herbert, last year, and what he was able to do behind that offensive line, you give him a halfway decent offensive line, you give that running game some holes. Wow, they almost made the playoffs. That was down to the last few plays, and they almost made the playoffs. They are in the playoffs this season. They did a lot for themselves. What do you think?
Okay, so if you're saying that means you're thinking Denver's either not going to take a step forward or take a step back. We're just
they're going to take a step. It's
and you're thinking the Raiders too again aren't going to be, because the Raiders were close too. The Chargers and the Raiders were kind of battling it out at the end there. And you're going to think you're thinking the Raiders are going to take a step back too.
Right.
I don't see it. I mean, don't get me wrong.
It's not that they're going to take a step back. The Chargers are taking a huge step forward. They had 3 offensive linemen playing out of position last season due to injury and retirement. They traded for Pouncey. Pouncey comes in and goes, you know what? I know there was no training camp, so I hung around for that. That was good.
This is an early hot take. I'm marking it down, but I'm not surprised the man from Long Beach is giving the 2 LA teams 1-2.
Oh man. Oh,
let's
this
go
is
with
not a
number
homer call. And my third one, the team that helped themselves the most, and this isn't fair. This isn't fair. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, basically, and I hate, it was all on Brady last season, and it's all on him again this season because he has so much talent around him. If he doesn't win, it's because he fell off a cliff or something like that. It's all on Brady. He really has a lot of pressure on him this season, but I pretty much think he can handle it. I think he eats pressure like other people eat pain. I mean, he just, what can you say about Brady? But they did well in the draft. They did well in free agency. I don't know how they do it. It's like the Patriots effect moved to Florida and then it got bigger. So all these guys that want to play one more time, I mean, they're lining up to knock on the door. And the talent's still there. Yeah, they're older and they're smart enough to know they don't need to win the first 8 games. They want to win the last 8.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, well, just so everybody knows, he's not giving like a power ranking like the top 5 teams in the league. Just so you know, he's not including the Chargers in with the Bucks and the Rams for the top 5. He's saying his best offseason moves and shaping the team up for the future here. So
the Chargers and the Bucks will never see each other in the playoffs. You have
the Chargers. I'm a little question mark on the Chargers, but let's hear your number 4.
Number 4, I mean, it's a team that they had a really bad secondary. I mean, that's the only way to say it. I mean, they really suffered with their secondary, and they were a one-trick pony on their defensive line. Well, they had depth, but I mean, whatever. I'm talking Cleveland Browns, and they went out and got 2 really good cornerbacks in free agency. Then they drafted a guy that's going to knock one of them to the bench. All right, and then they got Clowney to line up and go next to their guy. So now all of a sudden that defense is looking solid. Then they drafted a few more guys, a linebacker in the 2nd round. What's his name? The guy from LSU. He is not LSU. I got that wrong. Yeah, Alonso is who I'm talking about. And he is he's going to lift that linebacker core to a whole new level. They really, really helped themselves this offseason. Now, are they going to pull the Browns thing and somehow figure out how to screw it up? I don't know. But they definitely helped themselves. And the last team, I think you're going to like this one. And pretty much everybody does. And this team, a lot of people are listing as number 1, the Jaguars. No, they're not number 1. They helped themselves a lot. But when you're all the way down at the bottom in every stat and everything, it takes, they help themselves. I mean, and they help themselves a lot, but not as much as these other teams, because the other teams found complementary pieces to a really winning team, a winning component there. The Jags, they're not building on a winning team. They're building off of a losing team. So I like everything they did in the draft. I like the pieces and parts that they got. Great job. But, you're still going to be the Jaguars next season.
You're still going to be the Jaguars. Doesn't suck to have them. And there's that franchise in every sport too. And Van, we got a couple more minutes left. As we I think get close to the 1 hour mark. So I mean, obviously you guys and Lee, I'm going to give a shout out to now my fabulous producer who does all of the behind the scenes work. Another one of my producers, Lucas, he does some more of the other stuff that's not so much live and helps me out with that thing. But Lee started with me at the beginning and has been so helpful with everything. So thank you so much, Lee. And I know we won't take up too much more of your time, as I know you're a busy guy and I'm sure you have other stuff to do, NBA stuff to do. But Van, we have this fantastic website for Sports Talk. And I was just wondering if you're really instrumental in that. I was just wondering if you could kind of give people a breakdown of that. where they can find it, how easy it is to maybe
Sure.
just start up their own account there and join it up and start talking sports with us.
All right, everybody. You really caught it at a great time, Josh. Thanks for bringing that up. Sportstalkline.com. I mean, sports talk line, 3 words.com. There you go. And when you get there, you'll see a sports website that's growing leaps and bounds, whereas we're bringing in quality people like Joshua here that are giving us content across our spectrum. We do the website, we do YouTube, we do podcasts, we do all sorts of things. And we also do social media. Sports Talk Line is getting ready to fire off the only sports only social media in the world. And it's going to bring everything together. You're going to take your total sports experience and you're going to be able to do it right from one login, tie in all sorts of things, do all sorts of things. There's so much noise out there, you know, in the ether, in the internet, so much noise, the snow to just see through it. You know, you go for a search and you put in cowboys and you get like, you know, 2 pictures of a real cowboy, a bunch of gay sites. And
keep
then,
this PG. Yeah.
and then later you'll get, and hey, actually, you know, if you're looking for gay sites, it's great, but you were looking for the Dallas Cowboys and you just didn't enter it too well. And so it doesn't come up. So over at Sports Talk Line, they have a sports only directory. When you search for something, even if it's not exactly what you're looking for, it's sports. Okay. We don't have anything on the thing but sports. It's a sports directory, only one in the world. And then when you go there and there's sports media, social media, you're on a social media, people talk about sports. That's what they're there for. So it's a great experience. Get over there. It's in beta right now. Jump on, be one of the first people to become a big time influencer on Sports Talk Line. And hey, who knows? You get to be a big influencer there. Joshua could very well invite you on the show, right?
There you go. Yes, I can. I mean, hey, you know, give me these hour shows once a week. No, I'm just kidding. But they are a lot of work doing these 1 hour shows. But yes, I am so excited for the Sports Talk Line website. And like you said, it's tailored to sports. And it's one of the things that people may not like about other social media platforms is there's a lot of just garbage and there's a lot of noise and stuff like that. It's completely filtered out. It's moderated. We're making sure there's not random people on there that they're going to just be harassing other people. We take care of it like that. It's for people who love sports, as the motto for my show, which we will get to very shortly, tells you. So Van, I want to thank you so much. You're going to stay while I wrap things up and close out the show?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So on behalf of me, Joshua Griffith, the host of the Unnamed Sports Show, the Sports Talk Line Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. Stephen VanOver, Rado, Kat, Lee, Lucas, everyone behind the scenes, everyone doing what they're doing, all the other great writers and content producers we have for Sports Talk Line. I want to thank everybody for joining me here on this 1-year anniversary episode of the Sports Talk Line Network. And stay tuned for hopefully years and years more of the show, as I absolutely love it. And I hear good things, so I hope that you really enjoy it too. If you haven't already, hit that like button down at the bottom, the subscribe button to the channel, and remember to love sports, all sports.